So now let me introduce you to Nidhi Saxena, who has asked us to watch the film, suggested Once Upon a Time in Anatolia, this Turkish film that released in 2011. Nidhi will initiate the discussion on the film today. Born and raised in Rajasthan, India, Nidhi has been an artist from a very long, for a very long time from a young age. As an author, several of her writings have been widely published in numerous national newspapers and publications on film, art, and children's literature. India's renowned publishing house, Ektara Publications, recently published her book of short stories called Chidiya Ud. She also has a book on Bergman titled A Sad Swede, set to be published by the end of the year. I think we'll all be looking forward to the book, Nidhi. She's also been an accomplished painter and sculptor, and her works have been showcased in several renowned exhibitions. Nidhi has worked as a director and producer for Doordarshan. Her documentary films on subjects such as women taxi drivers, women sarpanch, position of tribals in India, and Indian classical music have been well received. She's also directed 2 short films. Nidhi, a very warm welcome to TFO, and it's now over to you.
Thank you. So, yeah, so I was saying that I don't know why I chose such a complex film, but I always love filmography of Nouri. So this film has all those elements for which Nouri is famous for. It has that poetry, it has that character study, it has melancholy. But the reason why this film got my attraction, got my interest, is because it has only 2 women characters in it. And they have really short screen time. And they don't utter a single word, or maybe one of the character mumbles some things, but not exactly, she doesn't say much. So this is the only reason which I really wanted to discuss, because I mean, I also feel that is it because the director is male? Is it a male gaze or what? So this film is filled with men, and only these 2 women characters. One of them is really beautiful, conventionally beautiful, and she is carrying this torch, a lantern, actually, a lamp, and she also is looking like a conventional beauty, almost like a goddess, almost like a very pavitra, we call it in Hindi, in a very conventional senses. And the other one is accused of adultery. And if we go into metaphors, we see her wearing black boots with thick heels. And I was thinking that, I mean, those black, powerful boots with heels doesn't have that kind of image, I mean, sort of good image for women. So I was just thinking that why he distinguished these 2 women characters. I mean, they are almost opposing in nature. And this is because all the characters in the film are male. So is it their gaze, or because Nouri is a male director, it's his gaze? But the thing is, though the part is really small and they don't utter a word, still I don't feel that they are lesser characters. I mean, they are really impactful. So I don't have that problem that these characters doesn't utter a word, because their presence is really, really powerful. So maybe I'll go like this. I will not go one by one story wise, or so, because this was my primary thing to choose this film, that it has only 2 women character and the film is filled with male characters. So I brought it in the beginning. Otherwise, I can divide this film mostly into 4 parts. One in which they are searching a dead body. So, but it's not a mystery or because we know that who is the murderer. We are just searching for the dead body. It has that sleepless night. Everyone's faces are hang. Second part is when they go for the rest into this village where they meet this mayor's daughter. The third part is when they find the dead body. And this is after they meet the mayor's daughter, which looks like the goddess. After meeting her, everything changes. Character changes. So before that, one policeman, chief police, stopped the doctor to share the cigarette with the murderer, with the accused of murder. But after meeting this girl, after watching this girl, he himself gives the cigarette, he offers the cigarette to the murderer. The accused of the murderer, Kanan, he starts to cry. And he sees that the man who is dead, Yasser, is not dead actually. He is alive. He sees him. He cries. Morning, the sleepless night has come to the end. Morning comes, and they find the dead body also. So I see that Nuri never have those exact very solid plot points. It's not a very solid plot point that something happened and because of that this character has changed. This is like a fairy tale. Like someone meets this fairy and everything changes. And the name is also like this. I mean, the name suggests like we are in a the element of folk stories. Once upon a in Anatolia. So it has this element of folk tale and fairy tale, maybe. It feels like this. So this film has 3 women. One is this mayor's daughter who looks like goddess, or one is the victim's wife who is accused with adultery, and one is the prosecutor's wife, which is not actually present, but he starts a story about a beautiful woman who died. And in the film, he got this knowledge that she actually committed suicide. And when they were leaving, after they find the dead body, when they were leaving, this police chief also said one dialogue that whenever you saw a can of worm, look for a woman. So it doesn't have women. I think hardly, it's almost 2 hour and 30-minute long film, and women presence on a screen is hardly for like 10 minutes to 15 minutes, but very impactful. But so I was very curious if it was a Hindi film or a American film. I would have my, I mean, I शायद मैं उसे पसंद नहीं करती, लेकिन in this film actually all these dialogues or the women's presence was revealing more about the men who are saying all this or who are behaving in such a manner in the presence of women, but not about the women. Um, yeah, so it was my reason of choosing this film, because I also want to hear from others that what they think, why Nouri Salan chose this cast. I mean, he cast this conventional beauty in that kind of role. Or if this film is directed by a women director, does it change anything? Could it change anything about the casting, about this conventional beauty standards, or the lamp bearing goddess who is there to change things in men's life? Or because it was looking like a holiness also. The other thing is, which attracts me a lot about this film, is, I mean, Nouri always have this Chekhovian approach. So he evokes the mood of introspect and frustration. But this time, actually, he adapted this film, especially the narrative part of this film, from two of the Chekhov's stories. One is Excellent People and one is The Wife. So like Chekhov, he is always an observer of human nature, never goes to moral discourse or poses the moral questions. But yes, gradually he unravel the characters, and we starts to see the psychological patterns. But he always leaves the decision to the audience. He never go into this Chekhov and Nouri both, I feel, into this leaving a message or saying things directly. So this film has all those Chekhovian things also. This is somatic, this enhance or evocates the frustration. It is visceral. And those elements of Nouri, which is like oversaturated sleepless night. In Nouri's films especially, it seems like nothing is really happening, especially in this film. So because he doesn't have very strong plot points or character arcs or reasons for something to change into someone, but still the plots moves very slowly, very gradually. People are not doing much. They are just talking, and even that talking is not very, I mean, it's also very mundane. They are not talking something which moves the plot. They are talking about something else, which is not even related with the plot or with the characters or with the story mostly. Like in this film, in the beginning, they were talking about the cheese and the yogurt, which is not related to anything, which cannot move the plot, but which can reveal about the characters. So yeah, and people doesn't have any work. They just stand or they just stare into something, and still the plot moves, and speaking mundane things. But something like slowly narrative moves. And when we go to the dialogues, this film actually have a lot of dialogues, but the tonality Nouri maintained, it doesn't feel like a very verbose film. It feels like he is maintaining a balance between the silence and the vocality, maybe. So though it was heavy with the dialogues, it doesn't feel like that someone is constantly talking, maybe because of the tonality, because he doesn't give any in Hindi we call it bhar. He doesn't give into that bhar in the conversation or emphasis a word or a expression. They almost say things in one tone, in a very balanced, calm, or static tone, usually. In between, I also going through with my notes. And so the whole night they were talking. They were talking about their personal things. They were talking about cheese and yogurts. They were fighting also. When they goes to the mayor's place, they were talking about honey, about that landscape, about that village and village people. But when they meets the mayor's daughter, after that, and in the morning also, especially in the morning, there is almost no dialogue, as if they are hesitant to break the holiness of the morning, maybe, or maybe that experience, that divine, some divinity. The other thing which I wanted to talk about was metaphors. So I feel Noori, in Noori's films, only metaphors are important. I mean, they are the story. Like, or maybe these logos or these metaphors are moving the story, or giving us idea of the story and changing the story. Like, even that the girls in the women in these films are also metaphors. But if we see the landscape he chooses, it's in that sense, it's the landscape is the first metaphor. And in every film by Nouri Salan, landscape plays the huge role. And he always reveal one and another Turkish city, Turkish landscape, and they plays huge role in all his films, but especially in this film, this landscape of Anatolia, vast, barren land, desolate, and so I can compare this land with the inner self or inner world of the characters and the audience, maybe. So they were searching for something buried, something which is buried in this desolate land. So this landscape is the metaphor. Then this burying, that we are searching for something which has buried, is also a metaphor. What is buried? Is it truth? Is it past which is buried? So if we goes into the prosecutor's story about his wife, if he goes into the doctor's story about his wife, if he goes into the Yasar's wife story, she also has a past. So every character has something buried within themselves. And they are searching for this buried corpse in this barren landscape. So I just feel that this barren landscape is us, or the characters. And I was just thinking that Agnes Varda also mentioned once that if you open the people, you will find landscapes. So then autopsy. So what is this autopsy? Is it mental autopsy? And the doctor also the doctor actually did this mental autopsy of the prosecutor. I mean, the way he questions about his past, about his wife, about the lady he was telling him about, who died one day after delivering the baby. So what is autopsy? Is it excavating the souls? Is it excavating the real self? Archaeology of self? Or maybe the past? Or this autopsy is the autopsy of the buried truth and this land in ourselves. So when we go into the metaphor and landscapes, there is one scene in which a doctor goes to reveal himself, and there is this lightning happens, and he sees the sculpture, a huge sculpture in this barren land. And later, I think Ali or Arab says that, yeah, this landscape, this land is filled with those sculptures. So he sees this face, this sculpture because of the lightning. And what is this face? What metaphor is this face for? Is it the real self of our, or what? Then, I mean, this film is filled with metaphors. I think we can find many, but at the end of this film, we see one blood mark on the cheek of the doctor. What is this blood mark? So I feel it's like, because he buried a truth, he says that so they found this mud in the windpipe of the dead body, and he says that let's not mention this. Maybe he does it to protect the children, because he throws the child throws the stone on the murderer, and he knows the truth that maybe he's his child, he is the murderer's child, or maybe he thinks that this this revenge thing will follow, so he has to stop this. So it's better to bury a truth. So in this one, when he was doing the autopsy of prosecutor's past and reveals the truth about his life, he hides this truth from the state, from the child, from everyone. So he also got this stain of blood. So he is also the part of this thing, this mark, that he is also not the innocent one. Another metaphor is very common in Nouri films. So I feels that what rain does in Tarkovsky's cinema, wind does in Nouri's cinema. And in Tarkovsky's cinema, it says that rains cleans the soul. So maybe in Nouri films, wind cleans the souls. And we always find wind in Nouri's film. And in this also, there is one shot in which they are just staring at the landscape in the dark, everyone, and the wind is there and the leaves are falling. So I was just thinking, what is this? Is this that someone is trying to move something, some changes? One very interesting metaphor is there, which I'm afraid to talk about. I'm not afraid to talk about, but I'm worried that I will be right or not. So there is this apple tree, and we see one fabulous shot of this apple rolling into the downhill. And so what is this apple tree? Whenever I see the apple or the apple tree, I relate it with the story of Adam and Eve. And if we go there in the story of Adam and Eve, so maybe, I mean, in mythology, or it says that we are bearing the sins of our ancestors. And there is this whole dialogue with the kid. I mean, the chief of the police also mentioned that children has to carry the burden of their parents' sins. And this child who is now a fatherless and who throws a stone, there is this child of this motherless child of the prosecutor. And the doctor also mentioned that he never wanted a child. So there is this, so maybe there is some relation with the apple tree, with the story of Adam and Eve, and with these children within the film. And maybe we can find some more metaphors. I see the black boots of the Yasser's wife also as a metaphor. I don't know, but I didn't go into find what is it actually. So I was saying that this film is mostly has 4 parts. One, when they are searching for the dead body in the night. One, when they takes the break in this mayor's place where they see the daughter, the goddess. Third, when they in the morning where they find the body. And the fourth one is when they are in the hospital and autopsy is done and all this. So I find the third part is most interesting, and when they found the body. So they find the body and they found it tied from the back, and they asked and they beat the murderer also, that okay, you have killed him, but why did you tie him? It's so insensitive and all those things. And he answers very simply, because it was not fitting into the car. That's it. And then they started to beat him, that he's so insensitive and all all those things. But when it comes to when it comes to the police officers or the states to fit the body into the car, firstly they have forgotten the body bag, and then it was really hard to fit the body into the car's back. So they also had to fold the body exactly like he tied him to fit into the car. And that pumpkin scene, so Arab was searching for the pumpkins into the neighboring field, and he found them and fit into the back where the dead body is. So I was just thinking that, and the whole process, when they find the dead body and this prosecutor is dictating dictating his things, and the one person who's typing it. So it feels like objectification of the dead body. I mean, everyone was so sensitive and all that, but then the way he was dictating all those things, he was giving the dictation, it was really feels like the objectification of the dead body. So it was like someone is mocking. And maybe all this comes from the everyday ness of their job, or maybe the state work like this. So I feel this is something very political. And this is a comment on the state also from the Nouri. And so I found this very interesting, this thing. Then it comes on the fourth part, the hospital part, where again we see the prosecutor and the doctor in a really long conversation. So when we comes into this fourth part, when I started the film, it took me a few minutes to know who is leading the film, who is the protagonist in a way. So I was just thinking, if I go in the traditional senses, so is there a clear protagonist from the beginning? I felt that I didn't find a clear protagonist in the beginning. And all the characters of even that sergeant who talks about the maps, who talks about the coordinates, and even when they found the dead body, he just came to and talk about the border. So I was just feeling that the film has filled with very interesting characters. The Arabs character is very interesting, the drivers who collect the pumpkins, this chief who stopped doctor to give the cigarette, the Yasser's wife, the lady with the lantern. So when it comes on the fourth segment, then I felt, okay, yeah, maybe these two are the clear protagonist. But in the beginning, in Nouri's films, especially in this one, I don't see any that specific things which because of those things we call someone a protagonist. In that segment, I felt that because for prosecutor especially, it resolves a thing. I feel that he always knew about his wife, but he was in a denial. And he was in a very deep denial. And the doctor helps him to reveal the truth. And then and then he feels that maybe it's not good to know. It's not always good to know the truth. That's why after that revealing the truth for the prosecutor, he just buried this truth of the Yasser's death in front of his kid. And then we see the last scene. The doctor is watching outside the window. And I was thinking that maybe Nouri could have end the film right there when he decides not to tell the actual cause of death and not to tell that they actually buried his father alive. But Nouri didn't end this film there. So this doctor was looking at the window, and we see children are playing football, and this afternoon is really shadowless. It doesn't have any shadow. And I was thinking that why this is so shadowless. I mean, the whole film is actually almost shadowless. So yeah, so the film is shadowless, but it feels like we are in shadow of many things. The characters are in shadows of many things. Their souls are in shadow of many things. So he ends the film when the few children are playing football in the ground, and one somehow this football comes towards the Yasser's boy, and he kicked it back very playfully. And doctor sees it from the window, from the distance, and there it ends. So he was the boy who threw the stone on the murderer, Kenan. And after this, and at the end, he throws the football, and doctor is watching it. So maybe this is the maybe we are the doctor, or who just wanted to finish this circle of revenge, the circle of suffering maybe, but he still got that stain. One other thing I really wanted to talk about, the cinematography. So when the film opens in this landscape, which itself has the meat of the story, we see, first time when we see Kenan, the murderer, in the car, so he is surrounded with 4 men who are sitting on the windows. And please, I don't know, I can share that screenshot or not. I don't know. I don't know how to share exactly. But if you can go back, please go back and watch that first image when we see the murderer in the car. So everyone's face is lit. They are yellow. And this murderer is sitting in the middle, and his face is dark. There is no light on his face, and all the 4 faces surrounded are lit, are well lit. So that moment, we know that there is something to do with this person. He's in the dark. Then we see the camera, and most of this film is like, the camera work is like, he uses extreme long shots. So the humans in the characters in the frames are looking really small, as if the landscape is dominating and human entity is really small in front of the landscape. Or in the beginning especially, it feels like that no one has their own particular characters, or maybe everyone is almost the same, because of it's so wide. Mostly it's so wide, it doesn't have a single extreme close-up shot in the film. So I mean, it connects all the characters somehow. So I just, when I saw that image, that this murderer is sitting in the middle, and on this window, everyone is catching the light, and he is in the dark. I felt that, excellent blocking. So I was attending one class of Kamal Saroop sir, and I asked him that I always struggle with the blocking of the characters. So he told me, to solve this, you think about the relationship between them, and then you will easily break the blocking of the characters. So when I see this blocking, I felt, this is excellent. One more thing, which I don't know what it is, but I noticed it, a rim of light on the Kenan's head, like an aura. And if it's in the film, then Noori has a reason for it. So I was just thinking that, why this aura? Why this rim on the backside of the murderer, the accused? I don't know why. Is it something to do with Christ? Or is he bearing anything on his shoulders? I don't know what this is metaphorically, but I'm so sure that if Noori has placed that aura, that light, he has his reasons. So yeah, I think I have already took 46 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. It was wonderful to hear you open out so many issues, particularly the one that you began your discussion with. Generally, when a film is so visually stunning and is by an auteur who is known for his craft, to pick issue with, to kind of start the discussion with gender People often think, it's almost sacrilegious. Why are you asking questions related to gender? Can't you see that he's such a great author? But there you were, it's so easy to miss the connections that you were making between the good woman within quotes whose beauty can even move the accused. So in fact, he cries probably because of her innocence. Her beauty moves him to tears. And then the last shot where we see the wife of the dead man and the child, and how are we supposed to look at her? And you have identified a particular frame, a part of her costume, which is beckoning us to read her in a particular way. So these two women, you say, punctuate the film in some ways. And also this absent woman about whom, there's so much probing and revelation and so on. So in that sense, it was a really wonderful way in which you unpacked the film through the lens of gender. And also a whole range of other issues, including symbolism of the film. Yes, there are many things that are there, which we wonder. For instance, why is the doctor looking at all those photographs of his childhood? Such an interesting moment. It's almost like we seamlessly go into his past. So such a stunning scene. So again, we want to ask, so what is it there for? So questions like these, I think the enigma of the film, which leaves many things unexplained, which asks us to read, interpret, make sense of in the way we want to. I think you've opened out a method of approaching this film, Nidhi. Also, I forgot when I was introducing Nidhi to acknowledge, how TFO and how we got in touch with Nidhi. Thanks to Samvartha for putting us in touch with Nidhi. And so as you can see, this is a wonderful, wonderful film and a wonderful opening, initiative by Nidhi. So I open out this discussion to others. So Soumitra, do you want to come in and speak? Or do you want me to read what is in the chat box? You're most welcome to unmute and speak, Soumitra.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So I just wanted to, I was very closely, and I just wanted to ask her that I felt that she was almost trying to describe a sort of Eliottian viewpoint of life to us. Okay, so is it possible to think that the filmmaker was actually trying to look at life in strips, as Nidhi has held up to us, and whether this is a deliberate ploy on part of the filmmaker, as I was asking on the chat box, to make this make us realize the modernist viewpoints of life. Can Nidhi please shed a light or two on this? I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah. Nidhi,
Okay. So I don't know. I also have many questions about this film. I mean, I actually chose this film not because I knew everything about it, but I also have had so many questions. So, but yeah, one thing is very clear, and I agree that this slice of life is there. I mean, it's the story of one night, but it's so, I mean, it's not very eventful night. I mean, though there is one very important event, but actually they are not doing much. They're just searching or waiting and standing. So yeah, I can say this this Leeton strip of slice of life is there.
Yeah. Thanks. Any other responses? Anyone else wants to come in? Yes, Geeta, please go ahead.
Nikhila, may I?
Geeta, yes, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Nidhi, for suggesting this film. I had not watched it before, and I can easily say it's one of the best films I have ever seen. And the first thing that struck me when the film opened was, am I watching a Kiarostami film? Because it reminded me so much of Kiarostami, especially Taste of Cherry, where you have this, barren landscape, vast landscape, long shots, and then the car. Here, of course, you have 3 cars, but there it is a single car. And also musings on death, because there you have this person, I think his name is Baidi or something, if I'm right. And he wants to commit suicide and is looking for somebody who's ready, who will be ready to bury him. And here also, the death has occurred, and they are actually going to exhume the body. So I was immediately struck by the similarities in these 2 films. And the grave diggers, those 2 characters, and they also at times are bumbling, and they have to be called, and then they are running and digging it. Somehow I thought of Hamlet and the grave diggers in Hamlet, as a pair of comic figures. And the dialogues, you were right when you said that they are mundane, talking about yogurt and honey. But I thought it also goes beyond the mundane. In fact, the dialogues in the film are something that I really enjoyed, like I don't mind going back and, watching the film again just for its dialogues, because it's also about, life and death and the state and all of that. And you're right when you speak about this dichotomy in the representation of women. It's that classic dichotomy of Madonna and whore on the other side. So you're absolutely right about that. And you also, of course, spoke very eloquently about the cinematography. I also thought it was a very indulgent camera. You have the camera following the apples that are, falling from the tree and then, ending up in the river. Then you have that empty, on the windy night, you have that empty water can, which is just, bouncing along and going, and the camera following that. Again, to get into intertextuality, actually reminding me of Vertov's Man with the Moving Camera. So a lot of these kind of things came to my mind while watching the film, and I absolutely loved it. And thank you for recommending this.
Thanks, Geeta, for mentioning Kiarostami, because I didn't see, I don't know why I missed it, but yeah, absolutely. These 2 films are really similar. Both of them are talking about burying a dead body, and the landscape is very similar, and cinematography is also very similar. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, anyone else who wants to come in now? Please unmute yourself so I know that you want to. Yes, Geeta, you want to come in? Geet, okay.
No, thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Please unmute yourself so I know that you want to speak? Ashok Bhattacharya sir, you want to come in?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, okay, okay. Tarakeshwar?
At this stage.
Sorry?
Not at this stage.
Oh, I don't know how many stages of discussion will be there. Anyone else? Rasha?
Yes, good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I really enjoyed watching the film and the discussion that happened. Uh, it's a challenge to discuss such a film because there is sometimes so little said in terms of dialogue. But I liked all the characters, and like Nidhi said, it's difficult to identify a protagonist, but we don't have to, because life is like that. Everyone can be both a protagonist and an antagonist. I don't know if I'm making sense. I also like the cinematography. I appreciated it so much. I also noticed something. I don't know if you have noticed, when that mayor's daughter, whenever she comes into the screen, they always depict her in a slow motion kind of way, as if she's moving in a world of her own. It's like she's like a surreal or a dreamy character, and like Nidhi has said, she invokes such feelings in everyone, like feelings of that murderer who started to cry and all. But I feel like there are many things that maybe should have been said, like that the other suspect of the murder, when they found the body, he wanted to say something, and that first suspect, he told him to just keep quiet. I really wanted to know what was going on there, so I felt that I really needed to know more about that. I also felt that little boy, the boy of the deceased person, when he entered the morgue, and I felt like he maybe knew that that dead person is not his father, and didn't have maybe much feelings of sadness or anything. It's interesting, but yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rasha. Nidhi, you want to respond to anything that Rasha said, or should we? Yeah.
So I was just so when Rasha mentioned the second accused, so I just remember that in the beginning, the first scene, we saw three of them were drinking. In that time, we saw the second murderer, the second accused is drinking Coca-Cola. And when this mayor's daughter, when this girl with a lamp enters and she was offering tea to everyone, she offers this second accused Coca-Cola. So he was about to take the tea, but she gives him the Coca-Cola. I was thinking, how does she know? How does she know? I mean, in this way, is the Nuri Sulanas really telling us that she's the fairy? She will change everything. She knows everything. And yes, about this, the slow motion thing, whenever she enters, everything goes into slow motion, and she is almost sliding into the scene. She's not walking. Yeah, that's thanks, Rasha.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Nikhila,
Yes, Ajanta, please go ahead.
I'm still gathering my thoughts because, like Geeta, like Geeta, I think it's really one of the best films I've seen, and what an audacious interpretation that Nidhi began with. So thank you very much. So kind of picking up from that point, absolutely, because she's such an auteur, and down to that Coca-Cola scene, I was also wondering why. One, of course, I mean, and all of you would have made that connection also, because the landscape, the return of the repressed, and Nidhi's already talked about this. It's almost like a topography of the mind, and what actually comes back, and can the truth ever be known? And my goodness, how many layers this film can be read in. It's just mind blowing. But this is just to keep the conversation going. I was wondering, this is also a 2011 film, Nick, and of course, this is taking place in a desolate countryside, etc. So the very traditional, not just women are there. They, as Nidhi said, they take very little screen time, but they're actually central to the story and everything that unfolds. But also, the scene where there's a woman cooking in the kitchen. Why they are given only these very, very kind of domesticated overtones. We don't know very much about the woman who committed suicide. Did she have a modern life or what? So this is just to keep the conversation going, because I do want to come back and reflect on so many things. But it truly is one of the, like Geeta, one of the really, really powerful films I've seen kind of recently. So thanks TFO, and thanks Nidhi. So it's really mind blowing.
Yeah. Nidhi, you want to respond?
Yeah, just thanks. I also don't know many. I mean, already I was telling to Nikhila that I also chose this film because I also have so many questions and I couldn't found the answers. So I thought maybe let's discuss and try to find answers. I also have, I mean, this film raises a lot of questions. Maybe we will able to find the answers collectively sometime.
Okay. Anyone else?
Nikhila, can I
Yes,
come?
Geeta. Yes, please.
Yeah. Once again, going back to Kiarostami, the centrality of children. Of course, in Kiarostami's films, not Taste of Cherry, but other films, they have a far more central place in the narrative as well as screen time. But here also, even if they don't have as much screen time as in Kiarostami's films, children, just like, the women, children are also very central to the narrative. As I was just, thinking about those connections, I thought this as well. And the child throwing the stone and then the football, as you pointed out, I think it points to also, the innate innocence of a child, because he has just done something like throwing a stone, and then, he's playfully, hopping back maybe to his home, and on the way he finds that, the football of those kids playing has come this side, so he, kind of helpfully throws it back at them. So the very ephemerality of a child's emotions, I think those two actions which come, quite soon, one after the other, that is what it points to, the very transience of their emotions. That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Geeta. Anyone else? Madhurima, do you want to come in?
Yeah, hello everyone. I just had one point that was in continuation with what Rasha and Nidhi was saying. So I felt like in the beginning when I started watching the film, I felt like nothing is actually happening. They are just moving from one point to another and without probably the hope of finding anything. But within the plot of the film, this looking for or searching for the body of the victim, I feel that some things are uncovered from the prosecutor's wife's story, or or the story of the police officers, I forgot his name, the police officer's child and his family problems, and the doctor's family problems. So these things, if they are not uncovered, they're at least given some thoughts on. Uh, but I felt like in the end, something is not uncovered, like either willingly or unwillingly. Even though the film focuses on unraveling from the beginning, and that is what I felt is the murderer's perspective. That is not included. We don't see the murderer speaking anything. Yeah, we hear about the fact that the murderer has submitted to committing the crime and burying the body, but we don't find the murderer speaking. And also, when the body is uh, uh, the autopsy is being done on the body, we see the doctor is trying to hide the fact that they buried the body when he was alive. So what Nidhi said about the something like the murderer being a Christ-like figure or something, I feel like there is something more that is not said. Maybe he did not even commit the murder. Maybe the other murderer, that is his brother probably. Maybe he committed the murder or something, but it is not being said in the movie. It is just indicated in very subtle terms. So that is what I felt about the film, and the film was really interesting to watch in the way the plot unravels without clearly saying anything. So that is all I had to say. And another thing about the cola, that you pointed out, that the lady gives the cola to the brother. So just a few minutes before, the brother actually asks, "Got any cola?" And if we see the look on the other murderer's face, it is like they are clearly trying to, uh, conceal something that they want to, that they don't want to be revealed. And another very subtle theme that I think is there in the film is, I think somewhere in the film, the uh, perspective about disability is there, but it never really comes to the forefront. Because if we see this police officer's son, he has some problem related to his intellectual ability, and also this other murderer who asks for the cola, he has also some problem related to some intellectual disability as well. Yeah, so these are the two things I found regarding the film, and thank you for the film and the discussion. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Madhurima. Yeah, maybe you are right that, that the second accused, maybe he wanted to tell everyone that I am the murderer, and he stopped, the cannon stopped him. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but there is something.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah,
Nikhila?
Targesh, please go
Oh,
ahead.
so sorry.
Yeah. Ajanta, go ahead.
I'm just
Ajanta.
asking a question. Nikhila, is that a Jafar Panahi film similarly with an anthropologist and he's gone to watch somebody who's dying? Is that a, or is that a Kiarostami film? I forget, there's similarly, there's so many ruminations about death and they're so transformative. Sorry, I'm just thinking aloud. I can't remember who it is by, but it's one of these cult directors from West Asia. Maybe Nidhi would know, I don't know.
I don't remember. Maybe was it About Ellie by, I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm not remembering. Even maybe this film which Geeta mentioned.
No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, Tarakeshwar?
Thank you, Nidhi, for the film and the discussion. I was just wondering about the questions that everyone is perplexed with. I think the answer is there are no answers to certain questions. And even if there are answers, you don't have to reveal them. I think the entire film found that. So we assume that is the answer, and later it is not that the only children are with ephemeral emotions. Even adults are in this film. If you look at it, the example that you gave, that they are critical of the person who tied him up to fit him into the car, but they themselves do it later on without any sense of guilt about it. See, the emotions are also ephemeral and fleeting, and we don't stick onto it. And there's nothing like one permanent emotion or one permanent answer solution that we can hold on to. You just have to live in the present and to something that you're seeking. It may not be an answer, and it may not be worth revealing. That is the way the narrative moves in the film. Thank you.
Thank you. So true.
Okay. Any other responses? Ajinder, Yagnashri, any responses? Okay. If there are no more responses, Nidhi, anything to say finally, or shall we wind up?
I think we can wind up and
Okay. Yeah, Ajinder says in the chat, thank you so much for having this very interesting session. Looking forward to more such sessions, and thanks to Nidhi and TFO. So we've come to the end of a very, very interesting round of discussion of this very interesting film that Nidhi suggested for TFO. So thank you, Nidhi, for suggesting this film. You were busy with your filming schedule, I think, when I first contacted you. Thanks for taking time out to introduce this film to us. And for being part of the discussion tonight. Thank you all for joining the discussion. So we meet, as you know, every Saturday at 9 p.m. So hope to see you next Saturday. Until then, good night and have a very nice weekend.
Good night and
Good
thank
night.
you. Thank you
Really,
very
what
much.
a film.
Me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
See you
night.
next week.
Thank you.